Figure 4 squat is, I'm actually going to perform it for you. Here is a figure 4 squat. You are actually going to make a figure 4. So you can see the figure 4, and now you're going to squat, and that's a figure 4 squat. How do you do it? You would actually be in a figure 4 position, and then you're going to perform the squat. So just like you perform a regular squat, you're going to perform this figure 4 squat. Okay, so that is a figure 4 squat. How do you learn to get to that stage? I'll show you. So I am at a stage where I can do the squat with the barbell, but that's not how it started. It started with me really struggling to stand on my single leg, and I have made consistent progress step by step by exactly doing what I needed to do to move to the next level. So here are the steps. Number one step when you're starting to learn figure 4 squat is, can you stand on a single leg, right? That's the most important thing. Figure 4 squat would require you to have a lot of stability, right? Mobility is a key element of figure 4 squat, but before you work on mobility, you need to have stability. Can you stand on a single leg? Can you move around like this on a single leg without falling down? So that is one thing that you have to really work on. Once you have worked on that stability element where you can actually be on the single leg, now you want to work on actually squatting, right? So the second step that you're going to work on is you're going to stand in that figure 4 and just try to go down a little bit, okay? You're not going down too much. You're just practicing here and see if that's happening. Another thing to remember when you are learning figure 4 squat is you want to make sure that you are trying to practice sitting as if you normally sit, right? If you had a chair behind, how would you sit? You're not going to sit like this. You're going to sit like this, right? Just like you do squat. So now that we have gone through some of the basic things, let's move further. Let's say you have gotten to a point where you are stable. Third thing that you also need to work on, can you actually squat all the way down, come all the way up without leaving the ground, without your heels leaving the ground? So let's see. Most people, because of the lack of mobility in their ankles, when they squat, by the time they're here, they're already moving like this, and then they're squatting this way. And that indicates lack of mobility in your ankles. You want to be able to squat right here, okay? And not fall back and not move further. Do you have that full range of motion and ankle mobility? So that's another thing that you want to work on. How would you do that? You're actually going to practice your squats, and you're going to take them deeper and deeper over time. So go down and down and down and down and down, okay? If at this point it's moving you further down, forward, that's your range, okay? That's your range of motion at that time, and your goal is to increase that range of motion. So your goal is to move an inch further down, okay? So let's say you're here. At this point, your goal should be to go at least an inch down. And how would you do that when you can't really stand straight? You can actually use some kind of support, okay? You can stand and hold the wall. For example, you could just have a little bit of support, right? Just a little bit, not too much. And continue to perform and keep increasing that depth. Another way to focus and work on that depth is get a stool. So let me show you. Here is a simple stool that we all have in our homes, right? You can use that and you can start performing your deep squats right here, like this. And as you're performing the squat, you want to make sure your heels are always on the ground. when you're sitting, okay? Now when you're getting up, don't use momentum. Use the power in your glutes, in your thighs, in your calf muscles, and keep those heels grounded on the floor. Okay, so let's do that. How would we do it? I'm not using momentum at all. I'm grounding my heels in the floor. And that's giving me the power to move up. I need a personal trainer. That's good. I suggest that, watch some videos. You don't need personal trainer. There's enough material on internet. We don't need to waste money on personal trainers. Okay, again, right? And what you're gonna do is, over time, you're gonna find a surface that's lower in height and just keep practicing down. For example, how will I go to the next level in the deep squat? Okay, here we go. So this height is a little bit less than this stool right here, right? You can see. So I found another level to work on. And this is where you're going to practice your deep squat. Again, remember, and one way to really control that you're not moving your knees further and you're aligned, keep your legs really close to this thing that you're sitting on and make sure you actually, kind of staying close to it. Okay, you're not going too far from it. That's one way to make sure you are maintaining your posture. So this is how you're going to practice really getting into that deep squat position and working on your ankle mobility. So now, here we go. So now what we have learned the things that you're going to work on. Let me workouts. Thank you. Now that you know these things that you need to work on to eventually work on that figure 4 squat. 1, can you stand on single leg? 2nd, can you actually hold this and just do a little bit of motions? 3rd, can you go all the way down and all the way up in a squat position? So can you do a deep squat? Once you have done all of that, all these steps that I just showed you to practice a deep squat, you're going to apply those same steps for single leg squat, because it's exactly a squat. You're just using one leg, right? So let me show you. You're going to get a stool. Now if the height you're working on is too low for you to go down, you need to find a little bit of higher surface. The goal is to start at the height where you can work and keep going down further. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get in figure 4 and I'm going to go down. And remember, coming back up, I need to ground my heel on the floor. Okay, so I'm pushing that heel down and that's giving me so much more stability. Another thing to remember when you want more stability, pressing the heel on the ground and using your toes to grip the ground, okay? Use your toes like you're using your hands, the claw, you apply the same principle to the toes and grip it so that it gives you the stability. Now the next step, of course, let's say you got comfortable with this height. The next step is to decrease that height and go to that next level. For example, right here, this is a little bit less height. This is what I'm going to practice. So right here, I'm going to go into figure 4 and then just practice sitting here and coming back up. What's the next step? Find a height that's smaller than that height. And what's going to eventually happen? Let me show you. Eventually, when you keep going down in the height, you will be able to do this right here, okay? Figure 4, and then you're going to go down and you're going to come back up. And that is how you learn to do a figure 4 squat. Now, I have reached that level a couple of months ago, but what I do to make it harder is I use now weights. So I do my figure 4 squats with some heavy weights. For example, this is how I make them progressively harder. This is a 15-pound dumbbell, and what I do is I'll just do my figure 4 with this dumbbell, okay? And I always do both legs so that I'm evened out, okay? So this is figure 4 squat with 15 pounds. How do you make it harder? You can actually squat with a heavier weight. This is a 20-pound dumbbell. So let's perform with this. Okay, right here, go all the way down, all the way up. Remember to really focus on your core, okay? You don't want your core to lose focus, because that's when you're going to injure your back. Right here. How are you going to make it even more hard? Let me show you. Here is a 30 pounds dumbbell, okay? So I'm going to use this dumbbell now to do the squat. So let's go right here. One, and the other side. And that's how you can progressively make figure 4 squat harder. And trust me, this type of workout has built more muscles and has given me a lot more toning than actually lifting weights. So that was your tutorial on how to perform a figure 4 squat, and I hope that you use this approach and then try to apply it and learn it. Now I would love to get your feedback and see how this approach worked for you.